Brandy and I are back to teach you more secrets of the tarot. This week we're going to go over the death line. We went over the lifeline, and that was the first 7 cards of the Major Arcana. So in the death line is the next 7. The death line is a time when we really start to learn more about ourselves in the context of the things that we learned in our youth. Maybe things from our childhood, maybe kind of social rules, beliefs, constructs about how things are supposed to be begin to fall away during the death line. And the things that fall away are the things that maybe were given to us from our parents, maybe were given to us by society, or given to us by a system of education. And we're learning as we go through the world that these are not things that we need to take with us that serve us any longer. So this week, instead of using the traditional tarot to compare the cards that I'm teaching from, I'm just going to use the cards I'll be teaching from, which are the Happy Tarot. These are just super adorable cards. Okay, let's get to it. So the first card in the death line is the Strength card. You can see this young girl is here. She's actually petting the lion, and it's hard to see. She has a little treat in her hand that she's gonna feed him. And so the Strength card is really about making friends with the difficult things in our life. Like, that's what grows us, is to experience the things that we're afraid of, to experience the things that maybe we thought we couldn't do. Maybe there's things that we thought we couldn't overcome. Maybe we have a fear of public speaking, and we've been so scared to do it for so long that we've convinced ourselves that we can't. And then when we actually do it, we didn't die and we were okay. That there are maybe beliefs that we hold about ourselves that are really hard to tackle, that they seem like they're too big, too strong, too ingrained in the truth of who we are according to other people, that we don't think that we'll be able to overcome those challenges. That when we can tune into our intuition, into our higher self, that we find the courage and the power to overcome some of these things that we thought that we couldn't. The next one is one that we have talked about in, I think, the first Coffee and Connect video that I did. So if you haven't watched it, go back and watch it. These guys are there, plus me drinking coffee with no eyebrows on. So the next card is the Hermit card. The Hermit card represents us learning how to become present with what is. This card represents allowing the things that have come to represent our reality, everything around us, allowing that to kind of go dark, not necessarily fall away, but just kind of turning a blind eye to it. Because as you can see with this card, he's got this cloak on, and on this side, it's really, he's really kind of blocked, where like whatever's back here, he's not open to seeing it. And we kind of turn a blind eye to things that maybe were this ingrained part of what we understood our reality to be, what we understood our identity to be, what we understood ourselves to be, or maybe what people told us that we were. And we're really just focused on becoming present to determine like what's important to me, what do I like, what do I not like, and kind of just getting still and quiet within yourself and deciding like what works best for me. Do I like this? Do I not like this anymore? The next card is the Wheel of Fortune card. And so with this card, the Wheel of Fortune is always turning. So to me, this card kind of represents like a new turning of the wheel, like a new beginning, a new opportunity. This card is a very fortunate card. So if you think of it like, this is a brand new year. This is a time when people are setting resolutions, turning over a new leaf. That this is kind of what this card represents, that there's all these like different little angels that are around. This wheel's got like these symbols all over it, almost looks like a clock. And just like time is always passing, time is always changing, like the sun comes up, the sun goes down, the day is shifting. At any time, our fortune and our luck can turn. And you know, when we make a change, when we decide to make change, that can change our luck as well. That can, us turning over a new leaf can positively affect things for us. The next card is Justice. So this is the number 11 card. 11 in numerology is a master number. It's a number of like instant manifestation, being able to really kind of partner with source. Like if you think of the number 11, like the 1 and the 1, it really kind of looks like a kind of a tunnel or a pathway that is kind of a direct route to source. The Justice card has some symbolism in it. The little scale here. Nope. The scale here, the scales of justice. She has a sword. So this is like the sword of wisdom and knowledge. The Justice card is very much about karmic balances, getting into balance in some area of your life, creating a balance. It might be adjusting a power dynamic. It might be the way that you balance your time. The Justice card is about paying the debts that we owe, as well as receiving payment for the debts that are owed to us. This balance can happen when we shift the way that we interact with people. Maybe we rebalance some relationships, we reprioritize some things in our lives, the things that maybe were important to us when we're in that lifeline. Maybe they're not important to us anymore and they're taking up too much time. We have to let them go. People that we give too much to that don't give back in the same way, you know, kind of rebalancing those scales. The next card is the Hanged Man. So this is number 12. And as you can see, he's totally, look at his little face, totally not distraught about being hung upside down in this tree. Last year we were in a Hanged Man year. 2 plus 0 plus 1 plus 9 equals 12. There's things that fall away. We are suspended in this upside down motion because we have come into a place where we have to release things, but maybe we're not able to. We're being put into a time and a space of surrender because what we're clinging on to so tightly is not for our best good. We can be forced for our highest good to surrender when we're in Hanged Man. The other kind of interesting thing about this card, we can't see his hands, and we also can't see where he's tied up. There are times that we come into Hanged Man by our own will. Like, it's not necessarily that we've tied ourselves up, but maybe we've chosen to let things flip around, and that at any time we can come out of this, we just don't realize it. To me, the Hanged Man really speaks to kind of like, for the purposes of like life, death, rebirth, we start to realize that we are no longer children and that we have the power and the authority to make decisions, but we're not quite comfortable taking on that power. So we kind of choose to stay suspended, almost like choosing a little bit to be a victim of the situation because we're not yet comfortable enough to take power. The next one is the Death card. The dying process happens during Hanged Man. So Hanged Man can be a really kind of difficult time to be in. And it's, like I said, it's where all the dying happens. But when we get to the Death card, this is the signifier that this is the announcement. He's got his little flag, you know, with the white rose on it, you know, the purity of death. And he's a little guy, his little skeleton on his rocking horse. Like, how cute is that? For it's the cutest Death card ever. When we get to the Death card, that is the signal that it is done. It is complete. So if we think about Hanged Man is fall. The leaves are losing their color. They're starting to shrivel up and dry out. And The death card is when the leaf actually falls off of the tree, the death that happens. It's the end that happens. And so a lot of times people that are not familiar with tarot, the death card can be really intimidating and kind of scary because it feels like, oh my gosh, am I gonna die? Like, is someone I know gonna die? Is this a bad omen? And the death card represents endings. It represents big transitions. It represents change. The only thing that can come after death is rebirth. Oh no. Oh my goodness. Look at this. This is why we can't have nice things. If we think of it like a sunset, like when the night is the darkest, that's before the light comes back in. So the death card is not something to be afraid of. This is a signifier that whatever difficulty you've been through, you've reached the end of it. It is complete, and now a new cycle gets to begin. And the last card of the death line is the Temperance card. And we look at it, it's a really positive card. She's an angel. There's these little God rays, bright, sunshiny. She's got 2 cups that she's pouring water into. When we think about the root of the word temperance, it's to temper. So if you're familiar with like baking or cooking, a lot of times when you have a really hot ingredient that you need to mix with a really cold ingredient, you have to temper one or the other by taking a little bit of one and mixing it into the other, just taking that time. When we look at her, she's also got 1 foot on the ground and 1 foot in the water. So she might be tempering herself to, as far as the temperature to get in, that maybe it's a little bit chilly, you know, and she's kind of just waiting in, like learning how to temper ourselves from what we were before this big shift happened into who we want to become. So when we think about like the changes that happen in our lives, the times that we have the gentlest changes are when we take things a little bit slow, when we temper our habits, our patterns, our behaviors. If you have always, let's say, eaten sugar, processed sugar, your whole life, and you decide, I'm just gonna cut out processed sugar, and you try to go cold turkey, a lot of times it results in a failure. Let's say that you eat a donut for breakfast every day, and it's like, okay, maybe I'll just pick one day this week that I don't eat a donut and see how I feel. And then next week I'll pick 2 days until you get to that place where you slowly are able to temper cutting sugar out of your diet without causing like a huge disruption, because that's where the success is. So after we've had this big shift, this big change, and we learn how hard it can be when there's a big change, we go to this place of like kind of grace and kindness and compassion with ourselves and say, okay, let me make these small adjustments and see how it feels. So that is the death line. I would like to know which of these cards really resonates for you. Is it strength? Are you in a place that you're overcoming things that you didn't think you had the power or the strength to overcome? The Hermit. Are you learning how to really kind of take time to figure out what feels right to me, what sounds right to me? Like, what are the things that I want to establish as my values, not what society or anybody else tells me I need to be doing? Is it Wheel of Fortune? Are you having an amazing 2020? Do you feel like you're coming into a time of kind of karmic balance, rebalance in your life? Hanged Man? Feel like you're like a little bit suspended. Maybe you're choosing to stay still, just waiting for some guidance. Or do you feel like somebody's picked you up by the ankles and they're shaking your lunch money out? Death card. Have you recently had a really, really big change? Like, did 2019 close out with a bang for you? Or Temperance. Are you in a place where you feel like you're making some really gradual, gentle changes and shifts, and you're just kind of letting yourself go with the flow? So let me know which of these cards resonated the most for you. And that was the death line. So next time I will be back to talk to you about the rebirth line. Thanks. Bye.